Hey Truth Seekers, it's Carolyn Wisecup here, and I'm going to be going over my Yana Love and Universal deck. So to begin, we have 4 of our Love over here. I chose to run more than kind of usual simply because I can only run 3 fasting, and I can use these 4 universal costs. So that's just kind of why. There's not really a rhyme or reason to it. That's just what I chose since we can only run 3 of these. So, I specifically chose to use Yana this time. I do like Sophia, but I feel like Yana is a little bit more purposeful in this deck, which is why I chose to use her, because she removes those 2 points from a Cine when you're facing a Cine. So to start off with, I run 2 copies of Mercifier. He's just a really good utility card, and the fact that I can simply use 1 fasting to pay for him is really helpful when I need to use him for points. I run 2 Alpha Lux level 1, 2 Alpha Lux level 2, and I run 2 Alpha Lux level 3. So I really like the Alpha Lux line in this particular deck build. It's just really nice to have them in there because a 3 for 15, which if you're using fasting, it's a 2 power cards for 15 points, is just really helpful. And that's on par with your ultras and things like that. So I really like having this in here. Also, if you attach like Broken Jar to any of these, it just makes it really helpful. Even Alpha Lux, like if you add 5 points to that, it's a 1 for 6 or 2 for 6. It's not terrible. So I really like having those on board.
You pay 2 fasting for Alpha Lux.
Yep. Some of my big boys here, I run 2 Prayer Group. Prayer Group is just a fantastic card all around, and I will probably use it in every single deck I have. I really like it because I can use fasting for that. I can use 3 fasting, and I can still have 3 power cards for something else at the same time to get quite a lot of points in a single turn. I run 2 Flamingo. I run the level 2 as well in this deck, so we'll talk about that in a moment. And then to finish off my universal cards here, I have Alpha Lux Ultra. I'm running 2 of these. I have 1 Love Ultra, but I like having these because it gives an extra 2 victory points to any other card that you're using. So you can throw this one down there, have your Alpha Lux level 1 with a Broken Jar on it, and you're getting quite a lot of points for those. So moving on to our love, we have 2 Flamingo level 2. I specifically chose these partially because they're the love ones, but I like the ability. When this card's played from your hand to grow Flamingo level 1, you may search your deck for 1 love power and add it to your power pool. So this is one of the few ways I can get power into my power pool and also just get power cards in this specific game. Anyway, moving on, we have 2 Cordial level 1, Cordial level 2, and topping it off here with our Cordial level 3. So this is a fun card, but it can be a little frustrating when you are playing and let's say you throw the tools of the trade on here on your level 1 or level 2, and then boom, you get to your level 3 and you're like, oh, it doesn't do anything anymore, darn. So if you can't quite make it to your level 3 and you have to play your level 2, throwing that on there is great. It gets you some extra points. Cordial level 3 has this cool ability that as long as this card's in your small group, all Faith, Hope, Love, or Holy Spirit are now universal costs. Really helpful in this deck.
There's a lot of things that cost just 1 fasting.
Yes, so just extremely helpful with this one. We have 2 Saltini level 1 and 2 Saltini level 2. So unfortunately, we don't get our fellowship bonus here because it is with love, but for 2 love, or if you have Cordial out there, for 1 fasting, you can first of all have the active Cine return to the hand of the player and still get your 8 points. So I love this card. It's really nice to have in here to bounce that Cine back and just get some extra points. We have 2 Terrestrial level 1, 2 Terrestrial level 2, and then to top it off here, we have those 2 Terrestrial level 3. So I like the Terrestrial deck in here along with the Alpha Lux line. It's just really nice to have it in there, and also it acts as power during your scoring phase if you can get these cards in there and if you need that power. So this line actually works really well if you have Flow Ultra. So you can use Flow Ultra to go grab any 3 Animo. If you discard this card from your small group, you could use this card, go grab 1 line of this, use it as power. Or you could grab all your Cordials, you could grab your entire Alpha Lux line. It's a really nice card to finish out those, because let's say I only have the level 2 of one of these in my hand. Go grab your other cards for it, kind of fill it in there, grab a prayer group on the way. You know, there's just a lot of really cool things that this card can do. I've thought about running 2 copies of this, but currently we're just running it with 1, and it seems to be doing well so far. Moving on to our equipment, I have 2 Tools of the Trade. So this attaches to a Love Animo. It doesn't have to be attached to a Love Animo, but the Love Animo to whom this card is attached gains 2 virtue points, or if you're facing a Cine, it is 4.
Oh, there's 3 Tools of the Trade.
Oh, you moved one of them on me.
Yeah, sorry.
Whoops. Okay. Yes. I knew I was missing one. All right. So we have 3 of those. Sorry about that, guys. We run 1 Paul's Chains to help us get those level 1s in there. So if you're going to be leaving your Treshell or your Cordial level 3 in the small group for utility purposes, this one would be a good one to attach to that, because you can use this to discard it at any time to use to play other things if you need to. I run 1 Broken Jar. I would run more, but I just don't have room for them in the deck. We may be switching up a couple things here in the next couple of days, but at the moment, this is what we're running with. And it adds 5 virtue points for 1 universal cost. So this kind of acts itself as an Animo, but it makes some of those smaller Animo feel a little bit more worthwhile. Moving on to Ascension. Again, this might be something we add a couple more of in this deck in the future, but right now we're just running 1, and this allows us to skip 1 growth stage. So I could play this instead of a level 1 and throw down a level 2, or skip your level 2 into your level 3. It's a pretty helpful card in a deck that has a lot of growth stages. Copper Coins, it's kind of a hit or miss card. When it works great. When it doesn't, you just feel really bad. Copper Coins allows you to look at the top 7 cards of your deck and place up to 2 power cards directly into your power pool. It's really great if you run into fasting on this one. Sandcastle. Sandcastle allows you to go for an Ultra or a Mega. In this deck, I do not run any Mega Animo. I simply run Ultras. And so this one specifically, I use to go grab my Flow if I haven't seen it yet. And I can go set up my line of whatever I'm looking for. So just a really nice card. I have a Fishing Nets, which allows me to draw 2 cards or 4 cards, depending on if it was the last card in my hand or not. Draw power in this deck is very crucial. There is not draw power on any of the Animo. The Rich Fool, you get to draw the bottom 3 cards of your deck. Hidden Treasure allows you to put 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck and then draw 3 cards. Super helpful if you don't want to quite get rid of all of your cards, but you need to draw more. Especially, let's say you draw more than 1 Cine in a single turn. Happens quite often. Put 1 Cine back, play a Cine on your opponent, and then you still get to draw your 3 cards. The Runaway. The Runaway helps you get any card from any Animo from your discard pile and put it back in your hand. So you can use this to go grab your Flow. You can use it to go grab your Alpha Lux, Ultra, any of your cards, your prayer group if you need it to. Super wonderful card. Moving on to our Cines, we have Flipper, the smallest and equally the largest one in this deck. So if your opponent has 40 points or more, he has to face a 17. But if it's 39 or less, then it's only a 7. This card feels really bad when you pull it early game. 7 still isn't bad, but it feels bad when you're sitting there staring at the 17. Moving on to Judgeweed. As long as a Cine is active, your opponent may not reveal any Cines. And in most of Nathaniel's decks, he does not run Glimmer level 2, so this one's pretty shoe-in. We have Grump Roast. It allows so many things, and it's wonderful. It allows you to limit the number of Animo in your opponent's small group, basically. They cannot have any more than 3 Animo in their small group, which is super fun to play on Nathaniel when he has 3 cards in his small group. Anyway.
Like, I literally activated 1 just so I would have the room to play my thing for next turn, and Grump Roast said no.
Yep. Next we have Zapper King. Can stop an entire game, and it's wonderful. I love this card. Your opponent may not play any level 1 Animo from their hand into their small group on the next turn. Bob Bubble. He's a big boy, but he's got cheap talk. As long as this card remains active, your opponent may not have any more than 1 Animo of the same name in their small group at a time, which also causes them to have to discard one of them if they, say, have 3 Stagnetics in their small group. They would have to discard down to 1 because they're all the same name. Moving on, we have Globster. As long as a Cine remains active, your opponent must discard the top of their deck as soon as their turn begins, before drawing any of their cards, which is really nice if your opponent has stacked their deck for the next turn using certain cards like, Percy or things like that. Really fun. And then finally, our pseudo mega for the game, we have Grumble. He is a 13 and he is big. He is the biggest Cine we have that is not a mega, I believe. So really great to have in there. Because he is close enough to being a mega, that is why I feel comfortable not running a mega. So yeah, that's what we have for our Yana, Love, and Holy Spirit. Love and Universal deck.
Right, in the meantime, Truth Seekers, keep learning virtues and defeating Cines.